Hello, witches. It's Stragabella, Kristen. Those of you who watch me regularly have probably seen the video where I mentioned that I have started studying astrology in more depth. Most of us are familiar, at least with the Wheel of the Year and the seasons and the solstices and all of that. But I've learned how to do the natal charts. I've learned like all the symbols, and so in learning that, it really makes you start to understand everything else, because everything that's above is reflected in everything below. It's basically a simple principle, and the more that we grow in our consciousness, we can see a shift. Like, as science is understood, it kind of verifies what was once considered magic. We just have more technology, which means we're more knowledgeable, we have more consciousness, and so forth. So the things that we know can also be seen reflected in our bodies. We all know about the phrenology, how you can feel parts of somebody's head to find out stuff, how parts of your feet correlate to parts of your body, and all of that can even be, each area can also be associated with an astrological sign. That may be way over some people's heads. Some of you may be way more knowledgeable than me. But the whole point of this video was that I was watching an interesting discussion last night on, I think it was a Hermetic school. It was basically in a teaching setting. There were several teachers and student participants, and it's a discussion with a topic. And they were talking about karma, and I hope I can do this video in just a one part, but there kind of are two parts, because the question asked, number one, when you have to deal with a person like over and over again in a like lifetime, you meet again in the next lifetime type of karma situation, the person asked, once you get that issue resolved, will you then not meet the person in the next lifetime? They were kind of hoping that the answer was going to be no. There were some mixed opinions. Some people believe that even when certain lessons are learned, they have to be shifted. Like if you're a slave owner in one life, you are going to have to experience it from the other perspective by being a slave in the next life. It kind of needs to balance so that you can see both sides and really have a full understanding. Like, when you see things only from your own perspective, you're not really seeing things for what they are. Sometimes people in the philosophy fields they use a statement that no truth is absolute truth. All truths are half-truths, because if you don't see it from both perspectives, you're not really seeing the whole picture. So, that was the lifetime issue, and it made me think about how some people die very young. Recently, I did my best friend's natal chart, and surprisingly, it said in there that that was one of her lessons, that her life lesson, and it was dealing with her area of karma. It said that she would need to lose a child. And that was pretty surprising. I mean, that's a specific thing that, it couldn't come on somebody's natal chart. I really don't think that could happen by accident. Obviously, it was, very accurate. So is that person, destined is that their fate. They were describing fate and destiny as being two different things. One is a fixed thing that you cannot change, and the other one, you can change it through your actions. So apparently, some people come into life with a purpose to teach someone else a lesson that they need to learn, and then in the next lifetime, maybe they will have that opposite role. I think that's really interesting, and it really makes us question what things are set in stone and what things are really our decisions and our choices. And then it also, the other part of the question was regarding what we learn in the cycles of life, because there's the cycle on the big cycle in the macrocosm, as far as us as a human race, us as a species, growing to be smarter, to be more technological, to have more medical advancements, to be more higher knowledge, like we like to think. We're no longer the cavemen. Now we think we don't even need to have organized religion anymore. And then there's that smaller, the microcosm, what our cycles are as an individual person. You're born, and that's, your youth, and then your adolescence, and then your adulthood, and then you reach the winter, and you die, and the cycle begins again. Not die literally, but, we have seasons through our life. Yes, the age is one of the cycles, but we also go through the 365 days, and we go through learning lessons. So when you choose the path of being a spiritual person, whether it be, if you're Wiccan, if you're a witch, if you're pagan, or any other type of path where you're living a life that's spiritually minded, you're living an inner world. You're not living for success and accomplishment in terms of the way society defines it. You want to grow in a greater sense, in terms of your higher self, your soul. So that being said, people that make that decision, many of us, I think probably the majority of those of us who commit to this for a long time, we all describe the experience of when we're born and we're little. It's like we've always known that we are this type of person. So I believe we are somehow already at a level of learning to be intuitive. And intuition does not come easily. You have to go through the steps in order to achieve the learning. You can't just skip all over it and suddenly have this this intuitive understanding of things. You have to learn the lessons. But those of us who are at that level in this life, we tend to have more of those experiences and trials that teach us. Our whole entire lifetime is often a series of just learning lesson after lesson after lesson. And it aids us to help others, because most of us who are on this path, the majority of anything that we do in our active practice often is to help others. I don't really see any of us here like wanting to be rich or famous or acquire big houses and fancy cars. Most of us are here to learn, to grow, to reach that higher state, and to basically pass it on for others. Because the more you learn, the stronger you grow. The stronger you grow, it's a peace. And although I have always been this intuitive person, it's amazing as I grow and as I reach new levels when I look back and I realize how little I knew. It's really just a wonderful thing, and to be able to help others to maybe get through some of those awful lessons that you have to learn the hard way, and you try to explain it or guide them to make it a little easier so that maybe they don't have to go through that cycle as many times. That was what I wanted to talk about as far as the seasons and the wheel part. Many of us have to go through it a bunch of times in one lifetime. And sometimes it can be really obvious that you're faced with the exact same things over and over and over again. And I'm realizing now, as I look back, like, how did I not notice that before? It seems to me to be so blatantly obvious. And I've pointed it out to some people who now I can recognize that they're faced with the exact same things over and over and over again. And they complain that they don't want this to continue, and that they don't want to repeat these same awful patterns that are unpleasant, but they refuse to learn the lesson part. Unfortunately, unless you're willing to look in the mirror and to own yourself